Hello. A whole bunch of stuff has come in through the post, which I've not really had a chance to look at yet. But I have opened it all, so I can't really call this a postbag video. But it's just to sort of look at what stuff has come in, and there's a fair bit of it. So let's start with these two, whatever that is. And inside, it's a little display module with a 3-button interface. And it's an H56C Coulometer. Now this one's interesting because you put voltage to it just on that 2-pin JST. Oh, I took the cable out of the bag, didn't I? Because I used a longer one. But for measuring current, you actually use this, what would you call it? A current transformer. But it works for DC. So this is a DC volts and amps coulometer. I'm not going to power it up. I'm also not going to do the screen grab on Aliexpress, but what I will do is I'll put links to all these things in the description so that you can at least find them. But yeah, that's the H56. You don't have to tap into the current circuit. You just, well, you have to break it because of course you have to pass the wire through there, but you don't have to permanently have. The other thing, of course, with this is that you can measure in the low side or the high side. If you're using a current measuring device which has a shunt, then typically you have to put that on the low side with one end to your ground. Okay, in this box we have another coulometer. This one is a TK15H coulometer. And in here we've got an incredibly dinky display. I mean, look how small it is compared to that one. Yeah, very dinky. Another 3-button interface. And this one has this very dinky little 50 amp, well, they call it a sampler, but to my mind this is a shunt. There's a 1 meter cable, shielded cable, goes from the shunt to the little module. How do you power this? Oh, yes, you power it through that terminal there. So one end of the shunt goes to your battery ground. And these two things, of course, are for measuring current or coulombs, I suppose, flowing into a battery and flowing out of a battery. So this one, yes, will have to be put to battery negative. Battery positive will go in that little terminal there. And then your load and or your charger will go to the other side. I can't quite see on there which side is which at the moment. I can see it now. That's B minus, that's P minus. So that's for your load and or your charger. And that's B positive there. And I just noticed there was a little screw in the bottom. So does this push out? Yes, I believe it does. Okay, that's the cover off. Oh, that is literally a whatever that copper-ish strip type shunt. There's no componentry on there at all, is there? This is a aluminium PCB. Yeah, so B minus, B positive, P minus, and then the cables run up to the little sampling module. Neat. Now, of course, these two things have a 3-button user interface. So one is going to have to learn the user interface for these two things. And that's maybe why I haven't quite got around to having a look at them yet, because these things, you have to sort of teach yourself the interface. Links, as I say, for these things will be in the description below. And let me know in the comments which of these things you're most interested in and which you'd like me to do a sort of more in-depth review of when it comes to it. So next we have this, a WZ5020L and an XY6020L, and yes, they are kind of similar. Okay, the WZ is this, and it comes pre-cabled, and it is, well, let me get all this clutter out of the way. Yes, it is a buck converter. I've got a feeling it's 50 volts, 20 amps for this one, with its own, again, user interface, display module, constant current, constant voltage. I think these things are typically 50 or 60 volts. This one might be 50 volts, the other one might be 60, 20 amps. It's got a little fan on there, heatsink with the high current semiconductors on it, and also the inductor is next to the fan, which I think is very sensible. This I think has a 2-line display. I won't power it up now, but we'll get into that when I do a comparison video between these two. Okay, let's have a look at the XY6020L. It's a very similar thing. Oh, I haven't actually opened the bag on this one. I'll do that now. Now, I've got a feeling the only difference, well, one of the differences is that this is 60 volts. Another difference is that I think the display is 3 lines. So let's take a look at that. Again, they come pre-wired, which is odd. Do they not think I can connect? These are very tiny, I suppose. But yeah, I've got a feeling this is a 3-line display, which probably means that it's a little bit more in depth. Right, here we've got a fan on the heatsink, a couple of semiconductors on there. This is the 20 amp 60 volt version. Oh, we've got a common mode inductor here. Big inductor here with the fan cable going through it. That's quite interesting, isn't it? But the fan doesn't actually directly cool the inductor on this one. I quite like that layout where the fan also cools the inductor, because those things do get quite warm. The capacitors also get quite warm. So in a way, it's good to see these capacitors in that airflow. That's not the case with this one. This one's interesting. You can actually use it without the keyboard and display, but only as a non-current controlled fixed voltage regulator, and it's a bit over the top for just a fixed voltage regulator. But here's the map. You can have microprocessor control, or numerical control, I think that is, isn't it, NC. That's with the display and keyboard if the switch is in that position. And then you've got 5 volts, 9 volts, 12 volts, 24, 36, 48 and 60 volts fixed voltage output, where it's just literally a voltage regulator. So again, I'll put links to these two things in the description below, and let me know which of these items I'm showing today you'd like to see in more detail first. Okay, next up is this. It says BMS on it. It is a BMS, but there's an additional accessory that I bought to go with this, and that's all this stuff, all this cable and this little thing here. But the main item is this. It's a smart BMS. Well, I can't remember how many amps it is. Actually, it says on it, so let's have a look. It's a JK smart BMS, pre-wired with the B- and P- connections. What have we got here? 0.4 amps. That might be the balance current. 40 amps, 60 amps. So one of those will be charge and one will be discharge, I imagine. 4 to 8. So I've got a feeling this is an 8-cell BMS, but because it's a smart BMS, oh, there's 2 temperature sensors pre-wired. They're little thermistors. But there's lots of connectivity on here. Yes, actually also in here, of course, you've got the multi-way cable. Now this one's odd in that you get, yeah, this is for 8-way, I think. How many connections are there? Well, there's 8 reds and 1 black, so that's kind of 9-way. And then you have this odd single cable here, which I think you have to wire to the most positive point, and that goes right up at the end of the connector array, I think. And I think it tells this how many cells there are, something like that. So it is slightly odd, but I haven't done all the reading I need to do on this yet. But what I did buy is this accessory, and it comes with masses of cable and interconnectors. Actually, the BMS itself comes with this switch. Not entirely sure why there's a switch. Little momentary action push button switch with a multi-way connector. Can't quite remember what that does. But this thing is a little display. Now there are 2 displays. There's a full featured display which shows you all the cell voltages. This one doesn't. I think it just shows you state of charge. It's a kind of at a glance display, state of charge, possibly voltage and current of the pack. I can't remember, to be honest. You can check it in the Aliexpress listing. It'll show you photos and how it all works. But this comes with miles of cable, and then this bizarre multi-pin connector, then the other side of that multi-pin connector, which goes to another connector, which then goes off to yet another connector, and I've got a feeling that plugs into one of the connectors down on the bottom of the BMS. But yeah, I've yet to look at all this stuff. And again, there's a user interface for this, of course. Well, there's a single push button on the display. I don't know what that does. But this works with an app. So you load the app onto your phone, and then you can set all the parameters of this and read all the cell and pack stats. Right, next up is this little 100 amp 12 volt relay. Now this was advertised as a motorcycle starter relay. I think you get terminals for that. So there are 2 spade lugs for the coil, and there are 2 screw terminals. They look like M6 possibly. Yeah, because I think these are M8. Yeah, that's right. So these are M6, I think, for the high current connections. Now, some time ago, and I have shown these, but probably not for a long time, I bought a solid state relay, and this is a DD, so I think it's DC to DC, 40 amp. There's all sorts of caveats for that. I think you have to fully heatsink and all that stuff. And then I also bought this. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to find listing codes for these or links for these, but I bought this one. Oh, where is it? And it's a 500 amp relay, DC 24 volts. But as I say, I have shown these before, but it was a long time ago, so I've got those. But my latest thinking for switching Antminers on from those big lithium iron phosphate batteries is this relay. And actually, interestingly, this one comes apart quite easily. So let me just see if I can do that, if I can remember how I got it to come apart. Hold on a sec. Yeah, I just felt that move, so I think that's about ready to come open now. Yeah, there it is. So inside the relay is this, and you can see that the 2 spade terminals go to the coil, which is just wound on that former there. It's all very nice and visible, isn't it? And then the 2 high current terminals, one goes to this. Now in the listing, I think it shows this as having 2 braids, one running across there and one running from the other side. They obviously decided that they'd go with a single braid. It does look thicker. And then when the electromagnet energizes, it pulls this thick piece of metal down, and then that in turn brings this thin piece of spring steel down, and that is able to bend a little bit so that you get a good connection. These are obviously some sort of alloy, because you will get sparks there, so some sort of thing which minimizes burning away. It's obviously a very hard substance. This looks like copper, and that's it. I mean, it's really quite simple. So yeah, once again, I will put a link to this 100 amp motorcycle relay on AliExpress. These things I think I bought some time ago on eBay. I mean, if I can find links, I'll put those on as well. Okay, and finally, now these 2 I'm going to be a bit cryptic about, because I'm going to do the full reveal of these in an upcoming video, so I'm going to say nothing about this other than to show you this rather interesting cryptic shot. And there's another one coming up, and it's this again, not giving too much away, but just a little hint. That's coming up very soon. I'm just waiting for something to come in an upcoming video. So there we are, sneak peeks of a few items. It's not quite a post bag because I didn't unwrap my post. What shall I call this? I don't know. These items will be coming up in forthcoming videos. It's all sort of solar and battery and what you put on the battery related. Links in the description, as I say, but that's it for this video, so cheerio.